What is up, folks? Welcome to the very first episode of the 16-Bit Podcast. We'll be back after this break. And I am back right here on the 16-Bit Podcast. I just want to take this one time in the show to remind everyone you can follow me on Twitter at RetroRockstar61. That is also where I prefer you send your questions anyway. We are not only on the road to WWE 2K18 here, but I personally am on the road to Retropalooza, I think 4 or 5, over in Dallas on October 7th. But we'll get there when we get there. First off, WWE 2K18. This game is looking sweet, folks. Every year it gets more realistic, and the options for everything get a little bit better. The fact of the matter here is that it's just all about, it's all about realism for the guys at 2K, which makes them tons better than the guys over at THQ, which, I'll get into that later. But I want to specifically talk right now in this segment about some of the worst video game companies I have ever bought games from. Now, any normal person would expect LJN to be somewhere on this list, but weirdly, I like a lot of their games, so I will put them on the list for a few of their games, namely their sports games. The movie games, it depends on which one. They take number 5. Number 4, like I said before, is THQ. They butchered Home Alone, well, the NES version anyway. The Super Nintendo version was alright. The Genesis version, again, was butchered. Didn't even have anything to do with the damn movie. And let's see. Home Alone 2 on the NES was also pretty butchered. The Super Nintendo versions of Home Alone and Home Alone 2 were always the best. Well, I take that back. Actually, the DOS versions were the best. And I've played all those on my channel, but I'm not going to show that for you right now because you're already here. Anyway, number 3. That's tough. I would go with early EA Sports, maybe. Just because some of their titles were awful. I mean, I'm the only one on Earth that probably liked Bulls versus Blazers in the NBA playoffs, but that's me. And that's just before they were EA Sports, so they were just Electronic Arts back then. Which can also lead me to put Maxis on the list at number 2. Maxis for the early Sims games. By early, I mean the very first one. That one blew. And the fact that EA and Maxis just botched almost every single Sims game that they ported to consoles. Except for Sims 4, which we'll get to that later. Number 1, this should be very easy. A little-known company called FCI. Just because of the fact that Hydlide was the only game I've ever played of theirs. Why, I kind of like Hydlide as a Zelda alternative. It's just not that great of a game, honestly. And I would say not my number 1, but some honorable mentions would go to Epix for winter games. Oh my god, the NES version was just terrible. And call it if you know this, but if you happen to know who made E.T., wait, let me look that up. I think Atari made that, but that's the case, that disqualifies them because I don't want to put them on the list. Just a second here. Let's see, who made the E.T. game here? Yep, it's Atari. I'm putting them on the list just for that one game, as an honorable mention, though. Didn't quite make the list. And also Titus for Superman 64. Again, oh my god, I don't believe I even own that damn game. But any way you look at it, Titus were the makers of some terrible games. My final honorable mention, I'm surprised this didn't even make the list. Active Enterprise. Best known for Action 52. Oh my lord, that game was awful. At least the NES one was. Anyway, I'm going to take another rest. We'll be back with another segment in just a moment. And that little bit of music must mean we are back on the air for another segment of the 16-Bit Podcast. Now, again, I am also the host of Retro Play and the currently canceled RetroGamer, but I'm not going to sit here and show my own channel for the next 10 or 15 minutes. What I am going to do, though, I'm going to suggest that if y'all are at Retropalooza in Arlington, y'all come and find me. I'll be with a buddy, though. Anyway, A little more about myself, of course. I'm going to say my favorite old console, shockingly, is not the NES, even though I grew up on that. I'm going to go back a little bit further. I like the Master System. I mean, it has my current favorite retro game, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, which I didn't take the... Let's just strike that. It has Alex Kidd in Miracle World, which is my favorite retro game to this day. And honestly, the theme actually comes from another favorite game of mine, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform, where when you're playing as Alex Kidd and you get the All-Star thing, that's what plays. Anyway, on to our next topic. As you can tell, I don't have a script. I don't script myself. But our next topic, retro games that should get a remake. Honestly, Streets of Rage. It deserves a fourth game. The reason it doesn't have a fourth game is because, this is funny, Bernie Stolar, the guy that actually ran SEGA back in the day, the idiot actually never had heard of Streets of Rage. I mean, how are you the president of a company and you haven't heard of one of your biggest IPs? That's like Nintendo saying, oh, we've never heard of Super Mario Brothers, when they've made the game. That's like Shigeru Miyamoto saying, oh, I've never heard of Tetris. Well, they didn't make it, so that's a bad example. Again, it's like Shigeru Miyamoto saying, I've never heard of Tetris when they made the Nintendo version of it. The thing is, Bernie Stolar was an idiot. This was the same guy that years later would go on to say, the Sega Saturn is not our future. Bullshit, it was your future. And this poor marketing is the same reason why the Dreamcast failed, because a lot of companies left Sega to go work with Sony. Of course, the one everybody knows about, the most infamous one being Square Enix, or just Square now. They ended up taking the Final Fantasy series with them. Oh wait, no, that wasn't Sega, that was Nintendo. They took the Final Fantasy series off the N64 and put it on the PS1. My mistake. Okay, I corrected myself there. But let's face it, the Sega Saturn was doomed to fail as soon as the PS2 came out. Because let's face it, when that thing came out, the quality of Saturn games dipped. I mean, you go from Daytona USA, one of the probably the best racing game ever made, if I do say so myself, to obviously crap games like Virtual Highlight and almost every single non-Madden or NHL sports title on the console. At least Dreamcast got some better titles when 2K started making their own, but for Saturn, and the nail was in the coffin early on, I hate to say. And a lot of people have said this on YouTube, but I'm going to echo it. Where was the Sonic game? You can't have a Sega console without a Sonic. Dreamcast had two of them. The two classic Sonic Adventure games. And that actually leads me into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which we'll talk about after this break, folks. And we're back for the final segment of this show, which I like to call Boss Rush. This is basically where I take 2 minutes to talk about any subject that I feel is relevant. And let me just get my clock up here on my phone. As soon as I do that, we will start off. And we are starting now. Okay, so the NES Classic Mini and the Super NES Mini are back. I didn't have the chance to get these when they were first out because they sold out in like a day or two around here. And, the NES one's not going to be back till next year, probably around late December, early January. But the SNES one's coming in about this month or next. If I spot one at Retropalooza out in the wild, you can bet your ass I'm getting it, because that'll probably be the only chance I'll have. But does anybody know if the SNES Mini allows you to add extra games like the NES Mini once it was hacked? But anyway, the lineup of games on the SNES Mini and the NES Mini are solid. The fact of the matter is, this is worth any amount of money you might pay for it that's not scalper prices on eBay. They're supposed to be going for like $60 to $70. That's at least what Nintendo told Walmart. But they haven't done a darn thing to stop the eBay guys from scalping them for over $200 to $500. Shit. If I wouldn't pay that much for a crappy NES game of Action 52, then what makes you think I would pay that for an NES Mini? Not worth that much money. It's worth some money, but not much. And also, on this Boss Rush mode, I'm going to switch over and talk about the current state of Supercard Season 3. We are currently in the last stretches of Season 3, folks. The Jack Gallagher Road to Glory is up right now. And my team is currently doing solidly, actually. We're on the WrestleMania card. I don't mean WrestleMania 33. That's another thing Supercard could do. Ditch the original WrestleMania tier. Ditch the Survivor tier. Everything from Season 2, change it to a Season 3 tier. But they're not going to do that. Anyway, I want to wish my team luck. And that is going to be all for the 16-Bit Podcast. I will see you guys soon.